Good morning, everybody, and happy Halloween. This is Miriam Cushnie-Mansour, your writer on the run, and I'm coming to you from beautiful Brantford, Ontario. Today, I'm going to be sharing one of my mystery stories, We Can Smile Again. It's in this book here, Mysteries from the Keys, which you can find on my website, writerontherun.ca. And it is called We Can Smile Again. There is a part of me that wishes it never happened, yet the satisfied part of me cannot help but to smile. Sylvia smiles as well, and she dances too, like a mad fairy. I grew up in the small town of Waterford. Sylvia moved next door when we were the tender age of 13. She was from Hamilton, and I was enthralled with the big city girl paying attention to me. We became best friends, and our friendship has survived, for we share secrets that are buried in our hearts' darkest corners. There was madness in Sylvia's eyes, her mother's too. In fact, when Sylvia had shown me some old family pictures, everyone had the same look. One thing I had noticed was there were no males in the photos. I never thought to ask Sylvia about that, though. Sylvia and I did not play silly games girls of 13 participated in. We had a secret place. It was secluded in a grove of trees on top of a hill. It had been the servants' quarters of the old Cooper house Sylvia and her mother now lived in. I spent hours with pen and paper creating imaginary worlds. Sylvia shaped her clay and danced. We were content. Life was good. Sometimes we would sit by one of the windows and peek at the outside world. We'd smile at each other as we observed the other teens playing at being adults. And then we'd return to our work. I to my pages, Sylvia to her clay. Then came the summer of Samuel. He arrived from Mexico to work in the tobacco fields, and we were caught unprepared for his devastating charms. Especially did he catch Sylvia. I would go to our secret place and find the door bolted. I would knock, but there was never an answer. Baffled, I'd walk down the path, sit by the oak tree and wait. She would tire of him soon. She'd never favor him above our friendship. I was sure of that. When we did have time together, I noticed Sylvia seemed absorbed with other things, none of which she confided in me. She just walked dazedly around the room, trailing her fingers over the dusty pottery. Samuel always lurked nearby whenever I was with Sylvia, which irked me. I would observe him leaning against the old oak tree, a cigarette dangling from his mouth and a smirk on his face as he stared up at the shack. It was as though he was just waiting for me to leave so he could move in. When we came down the hill, Sylvia would walk past him, but I observed the obscene body language between them. Once in my house, I took to going directly to my bedroom where I would watch from my window. Sylvia always raced back to the oak tree, to him. I cried a lot that summer, waiting for the tobacco harvest to be over. Samuel would go home then, and my friend would return to me. I would exonerate her of the transgression against our friendship, just as I was sure Sylvia would have exonerated me had I made a mistake. Summer took her leave. Fall strutted in with glorious rustic colors. The tobacco workers began to disappear from our streets. But Samuel did not leave. Then, one day, Sylvia brought me the boxes that contained my writings. Her eyes were crazy as she handed them to me. Samuel missed his plane and won't be able to get another flight for a month or two. The airline won't refund his money, so he has to get a job to buy another ticket. He will be able to save quicker if he doesn't have to pay rent. So I said he could stay up on the hill. I don't want him to poke through your stories. You can return when he's gone. That was it. Sylvia just left and headed back up the hill to our secret place. I carried the boxes to my room, walked to my window, watched my friend disappear up the hill, and cried again. Sylvia began missing school. When she did show up, there was an awkward silence between us. The magic of the past 3 years was gone. When is he leaving? I asked on one of those days. Why? Well, it has been a month. November is almost here, and the weather is going to get worse. Not paying rent, I just thought he might have saved enough for his plane ticket by now. He did, but he sent his mother the money to buy medicine for his little brother. Doesn't she want him to come home? Not really. Besides, there is nothing there for him. He might stay here. What are you looking so glum about? At least he has a job. But he can't stay up there, I spoke sharply. She grabbed my arm and swung me around to face her. Give me one good reason why not. Her eyes were gleaming madly. Ouch! I pulled away. What's going on, Sylvia? I thought we were friends. That is supposed to be our place. I thought Samuel was temporary. What is happening to you? I burst into tears. Sorry if I hurt you, Carrie. But as great grandmama used to say, life moves on, and so do people. Her answer cut my heart. So this means you are moving on? Yes. She got up and left the school. I knew where she was headed, without me. As I watched her leave, I noticed the change in her movement. Her feet did not dance as they had a few short months ago. It was at that point I knew something was drastically wrong. Eventually, Sylvia was kicked out of school. She gathered together her few possessions and then dropped her pens on my desk. Here, she murmured, you have more use for these than I. She shuffled slowly from the room, her shoulders slumped, her steps heavy. I wanted to confront Samuel and demand to know what he was doing to her, to ask why there were black circles around her eyes, why her back was hunched so, why her feet did not dance anymore. I needed to save my friend. I watched their comings and goings. I saw a difference in his walk too. He would stagger up the hill, bumping from tree to tree, falling on the path, probably from drinking too much. I feared more than ever for Sylvia's safety. I prayed for a night when my parents would go out so I could go up to the shack and find out what was happening. Finally, the perfect night unfolded. My parents were invited to a 25th wedding anniversary house party for some old friends, and an October pea soup fog had rolled in. The Marshalls lived in the country and had insisted their guests stay over. Mum called, instructed me to lock everything up and go to bed. I had Mrs. Winter's phone number in case of an emergency. I smiled, headed to my room, dragged my rocker over to the window and sat down. Samuel would be along soon, and my eyes would have to be sharp to see through the blasted fog. My alarm clock ticked softly. I kept shaking off sleep, needed some music. The deep notes beat in my veins. Time passed. The music stopped. Silence, but for the tick, 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 ticking clock. Sleep. Damn! I jumped up. It was 1:30. I had probably missed Samuel's return, but I needed to go up there anyway and put an end to whatever was going on. I shoved my feet into my runners, grabbed my jacket and house key, and ran downstairs. I almost tripped over the Halloween pumpkin by the back door. Outside, the fog closed in around me, penetrating the fabric, dampening my skin. Or was that nervous sweat? I could have gone up that pathway blindfolded. I had traveled it so many times. As I drew closer to the shack, I noticed a candle trembling in the window. I heard loud voices from the inside, and then I heard the ugliest voice. "You witch! Where's the money?" There was a loud slapping sound, but no whimper followed. "Tell me!" the voice roared. "Go to hell and fry!" a female voice screamed. Then there was another slapping sound, followed by a crash. I moved quickly to the door, and with all my valor, I burst into the room. Sylvia was cowered beneath a table. She was half naked, her clothing tattered and torn. Bruises and bloody scratches played snakes and ladders on the exposed skin, but her eyes held a fiery madness like I had never seen before. She was glaring at Samuel with such hatred that even he momentarily stopped his assault. I seized the moment and grabbed the fire poker by the door, the one Sylvia and I kept there in case any unwanted strangers tried to invade our world. This was our secret place, Sylvia's and mine. Samuel was unwanted. I swung with all my might. The clay felt pleasant to my trembling fingers. Sylvia showed me how to smooth and shape it. "You can create anything you want with clay," she smiled. We worked all night on the new piece. In the morning, I ran down to my house and left a note for my parents, informing them that Sylvia and I were sleeping in the shack and I would see them tomorrow. We slept for a few hours and then continued our work. Finally, we sat back and observed our creation. He was magnificent, just like when we had first seen him. "Not bad for a beginner," Sylvia smiled. She began to dance around the sculpture. "You know what? I think we will enter this in the Pumpkin Fest pottery show. There is a new category this year, real life creations. I could write a story to go with it, an amalgamation of two arts," I added with a smile. "Good idea." And Sylvia smiled again. The town of Waterford is proud of their world-renowned artist and writer. Sylvia inherited her mother's property when her mother passed away. We live in the main house. However, we still spend a lot of time in our secret place. We fixed the walls and broken windows. We also expanded the shack by adding 2 rooms. One where I write my manuscripts, one where Sylvia works her magic with clay. However, it is our statues and the stories that go with them that have truly made us famous. Sylvia and I won the grand prize with our first entry 10 years ago. We win first prize every year, and after each show, we add another statue to our iron-fenced garden on the hill. The stories are encased in a glass box beside their inspirations. At the moment, we are working on another statue, one of the most exquisite we have ever executed. Unfortunately, it will not be ready for this year's show, for the clay is too fresh, and I have yet to write the story. There is a part of me that wishes it had never happened. Yet, the satisfied part of me cannot help but to smile. Sylvia smiles as well, and she dances too, like a mad fairy in the garden of statues. There you have it. We can smile again. by Miriam Cushnie-Mansour, Mysteries from the Keys, in, on my website, writerontherun.ca, also available on Amazon. You have a wonderful Halloween. Stay safe. Love to you all. Bye bye.